literally, it was a normal, obviously, day at college. I never find out these things first. Everyone always knows before me.
I don't specifically remember when I first heard about Matt.
He said he'd been doing all this game stuff and he'd been making games and stuff like that.
I do remember him mentioning his app quite a lot.
I think we were in a media lesson and Matt came over and said that he had some really good news.
He told me that he sold his app.
I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a lot of money.
Someone told me Matt's a millionaire.
I was like, lucky bastard. Like, I was. I was like, fuck me, this kid is actually really, really lucky. Like, that was crazy for me. But at the end of the day, like, for me, I was just like, well, you know what? Good for him.
The first thing I thought was, like, it's absolutely amazing. Like, the opportunity to be able to go and do something like that.
And my initial reaction was, oh bless him, well done. That means he won't have to struggle through life. It's been set up, he can buy property, get a car, all those sort of things.
Like, I went home and I was like, Mum, guess what? Like, there's this boy in my class and he's done this and he's got all this money.
My reaction was surprise and thought it was too far-fetched to be true.
I was honestly really impressed with Matt, I think. And I had absolutely 100% no reason to doubt what he had told everyone.
As the sort of days went on, I thought about it and he was saying that he was flying off to these different countries and meeting all these people. And I thought, well, how are you going to fit your college into, how are you going to fit all your college work into jetting off all over the country to America and meeting all these people? But I didn't really think about that because I was like, he must be really tired. I hope he's eating properly. Being a mum, you sort of, you do worry about your students.
And for some reason, at that point, I didn't think twice. I started to see cracks in the story.
The first thing I had doubts about was probably the money that he received for the app.
32 million, I think it was.
I thought that when you consider that there are, I'm pretty certain the gaming industry is struggling right now. I know that it's a different thing being independent. It's strange that you'd be paid that much money for just an app. It's not like it's development for a console or like a AAA title, where all of the marketing's on it. And I just thought that you wouldn't be paid that much money for something like that.
And then as the sort of weeks went on and on, I thought, well, if he'd got all this money, why hasn't he bought a new car? Why is he wearing the same sort of clothes? I wasn't judging him, but just thinking maybe he didn't get as much as he said he got.
I can't remember him actually showing me anything to do with him being a millionaire. I never saw any new clothes. He was always wearing the same thing. I never actually saw a car. I'm sure if he was a millionaire and he bought this new car, he'd want to show someone, and he hadn't.
When I first heard about the Matt is a millionaire, somebody told me that Matt is a millionaire. At first I thought, yeah, sure. I thought they were just joking. And then a few times Matt didn't really answer my question.
He said he bought a house in LA, and then about 2 weeks later, he was like, oh, I've sold my house in LA. He said he owned a company. One day he came in, he was like, oh, I'm sick of being the CEO of a company. I've got to work late hours and stuff. And he said he was going to quit. And basically the people at his job wanted him to stay there and stuff like that.
But still I thought, he's not going to lie about the, the creation of this app. Because I didn't think, I thought if it was a lie, you wouldn't come into that kind of environment and tell that kind of lie, because it would become apparent.
To do something like that, like an app, in a class of media students is very risky.
I remember we all went away for summer. Everyone, I don't remember there being any doubt about it.
I did Google something,
I decided I'd Google it. So I searched for it.
and it come up with some stuff about the app that Matt had said, and his name wasn't on there.
And that's when I saw it was created by Mountain Sheep Studios. And I thought, well, that doesn't, you know, obviously that doesn't line up with what Matt has said.
That's when I started having a few more doubts.
I didn't say anything at first. I didn't want to be that person who I didn't want to go up to him and be like, oh, I know you're lying, blah, 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 and, you know, cause issues. So I kept quiet about it. I've got to admit, I was a little bit frustrated about that. I probably shouldn't have kept quiet about it for so long. I was getting tired of it, and I'd heard other people like talking, saying that they you know, maybe didn't 100% believe it.
One of my friends and I wanted to confront him about it, and a lot of people had been coming to me with the with the theories that Matt's lying, and like I think I had about 7 people come up to me and say, have you heard about that, we don't think it's true, etc. So one day I was just like, oh my god, I'm so fed up of people moaning to me about it, it's not my issue.
They took him into a room. I was so scared. I was like, confrontation is definitely not my thing. I cannot deal with confrontation. And she just explained to him, she was like,
look Matt, people have come to me, like quite a few people have come to me and said that you're not being honest, and you know, if this is true, I would honestly tone it down, because you're going to start getting people resenting you. And he basically was just like, oh yeah, no, it's a lie. But to him it wasn't a big deal that he had been confronted about lying.
And then obviously he said, yeah, it was a social experiment.
can you sit up?
My shot.
What was the social experiment about?
To see how people react with their emotions to things that change in everyday life was the task title. I thought it'd be a new experience and it might be a laugh.
I would have been really worried. I'd have been like, oh no, like, especially if it was a social experiment, I would have been like, right, I need to set this straight right now, because I don't want people to think I've been lying to them just willingly. I would be like, oh no, like, I need to make sure everyone knows that I'm not a compulsive liar, that it is actually a social experiment.
Social experiment. Okay, at first I didn't know what that was. I mean, I'd heard it before. I'd heard, you know, what it is, what the name is, but I didn't know how you go about doing a social experiment, you know.
He showed us how to look for it and how to sort of write it down in primary research to do it, and how we should actually mark it down. So like each emotion has like a letter, and we so you don't say names, so it's not it's private, so no one can read it and know who they are. He said write down a chart with people's numbers, so everyone got like a number.
I initially thought, when he said, oh, it was a social experiment, I was like, right, so you were lying. That's what I initially thought. Like, everyone, at some point in their life, whether they are, you know, whether they are 18 or whether they're 8, they lie about something. It could be anything. It could be a little lie, it could be a big lie.
There's always times in the playground and things where people say that they've done something or they've seen something that they haven't done. But at various times, kids say that. Oh, you know, have you seen this? Have you seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, for example, when you're kind of 10 years old and it's an 18 film, you shouldn't have been watching it. But yeah, people claim, yeah, I've seen that, you know, oh, I've done that. But they haven't done. It's kind of a, you know, children, young people do that kind of thing. But you think that as people get older, that kind of thing goes away and you grow out of that. You know, you believe things a bit more when people are older, and that they won't be just making up things for the sake of it.
I felt a little bit like, oh my god, I've been really gullible and vulnerable and, you know, believed all this and it's not true. Why would you make up something like that?
Yo, when I found out that it was BS, I was just like, I honestly was just like, you know, kids can be real stupid sometimes. Like, why would you do something like that?
I remember my friend coming back in and I was just like, oh, he said it's a social experiment. And at first, I didn't really question it. Like, I was just like, okay, that's a bit odd. Like, why would you do that? That's a bit weird. And especially to do it to people who I would consider your friends.
did he speculate that people were going to change or weren't going to change? From my point of view, I don't think my behaviour changed, and to be honest, I don't think the behaviour of the class changed. I think everyone kind of acted the same. Might have made some jokes about money or bribery or something, but I don't think my behaviour towards him changed because I didn't believe it, and I don't think the class changed either.
I got a lot of people who was like, "Oh, congratulations, well done," but there was some people who was like, "Oh, don't give a crap." I could feel that some people were definitely jealous over me, and I could feel like a bit of tension between us.
I wouldn't say I was jealous of him, because I think the only reason I could be jealous is if I was interested in apps and stuff, because to me, I've been brought up, if you want something, you work hard for it. So to me, if someone else has got something, I'm just like, props to you for going out and doing that.
People will say that they weren't jealous, but I was jealous because, you know, he was saying he was meeting all these people, he was going on all these flights to America, which everyone wants to go to America at some point in their life, so I was obviously jealous. And, you know, he was saying he was doing all of these things, and I'm just sitting here in a college that I haven't paid to be in. I work a half-assed job, and he's sitting here going, yeah, I do this and this and this and that. And I'm just like, okay.
He was always mentioning it, and he was always bringing it up, and he was always searching, like, oh, like, this is the car I'm going to buy. Look, I'm looking at flats in Eastbourne. And I've got to admit, yeah, I was a little bit jealous of that, because I just thought just the ability to have security. I think that's what money is to people. It's security, and just be able to go, I have this house, I can live here, this is mine, I own it.
Felt not jealous, but like, bless him, you know, set him up for life being so young.
Even the social experiment, man, like, why would you waste your time even going out your way to do a social experiment?
I wasn't too annoyed because it doesn't really affect me, but it wasn't the right thing to do, I don't think.
And I thought of it, and it cannot be a social experiment. Experiments has some ethical issues, first of all. He doesn't have an aim. It's really unethical for the people he is with, because it's uninformed. They didn't know what the study is about, what the study is about. It's just, oh, Matt is a millionaire. He has this stuff. He goes traveling the world. Apparently, when one time he was saying that he was in America, apparently he was in Ravenside.
That you could do an experiment without having to say that you were jetting off all over the country, meeting all these famous people.
He said spice it up a little. You need to do something big to give him a good reaction. So I thought, big people and the big names. A lot of people know him worldwide. You know, perfect example.
He kept like doing more and more, and I'm not sure if that was an attempt to make us question it, but it just seemed a bit show-offy. It was a bit like, oh, look at what I can afford, and he was always mentioning it. And in class, when people would mention like financial support for things, he'd be like, oh, why is everyone looking at me? And honestly, I don't think there was, a lot of the time there wasn't people looking at him and going like there were obviously a few times where people would be like, would look at Matt enviously, like jokingly, but a lot of the time I felt like he was drawing attention to it. Now, whether that's because, as he said, it was a social experiment, I don't know, but he did seem to want a lot of people to know about it, so that, you know, it's quite weird.
And I just initially thought, okay, so it's a lie, so, you know, it was a popularity contest. You know, I thought he's working for popularity.
We study in psychology and sociology, and then it should have a written procedure of how many participants and are they willing to participate, and if they're not, and they shouldn't get involved. Well, apparently he involved everyone. He involved teachers, teaching assistants, he involved students, and he doesn't even know, he's not even sure whether they are under 16, and if they are under 16, he should have asked for the guardian's consent. I haven't seen, we haven't seen any paper or anything of some sort, or any recordings that this is his findings and everything.
I have notes at my house from it that's just been sent to my friend at university. I'm not going to name his name.
To me, it just sounds so much of a coincidence. It's so much of a coincidence. Why would you say something? Why would you do something and then say, oh, I did it because it was a social experiment?
I don't think it involves trying to one-up people and degrade. You know? Not that I'm saying that he was setting out to do that, but that's what it felt like. It felt like a degrading, you know. Felt like I was below him.
It was means I spent more time trying to figure out how to stop them from finding out that it was not real.
Potentially, even if it was a social experiment and he kept it going, why keep it going? Like, what's the point?
I think he enjoys the reaction from people because he won't do things to draw attention to himself that people are going to enjoy and laugh at. Yeah. He will do things that will annoy the shit out of everyone.
I felt the need, why not try to see how long it takes him to figure it out.
So was that for your own benefit?
It's for my own laughter. I didn't get told to finish it or anything, so I just thought I'd continue to see how long it takes people to find out.
I feel not let down, but that's sad, really. I feel a bit sad for him because he's a good lad.
I just think it's a bit sad because I would like to believe that it's a social experiment. I think if you can easily, you know, pull that off and just say it's a social experiment, then, you know, you can lie about a lot of things.
I wanted to see how much people trusted me and see what type of person they were, to see if they would actually come forward to me, to show that they're actually willing to get something done instead of just waiting for me to say, you know, it was all fake.
I have my doubts as to whether it was a social experiment because I see no reason why or what the purpose or goal would be.
Maybe it isn't a social experiment.
Him saying that it was a social experiment kind of led me to think that was a cover-up to him not telling the truth, saying that he's rich and stuff, which kind of leads me to think what was the point in doing it in the first place.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I believe it's just a lie.
It was all BS. So how the fuck do I know that it's not another shitload of BS?
One big lie, if you like.
You lie to yourself so much, you can start to believe it and you become entwined in the world yourself. And I think he genuinely believes that it was, but because he's lied to everyone and himself so much, he could genuinely believe that what he's done is no wrong, because like we were saying earlier, he's shown no emotion towards it.
I got carried away with it.